Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. This morning we are reading from the Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 11, text, Chapter 2, Text 47, the Prakrita Bhakta. Today we are studying a verse that is one of the sharpest mirrors for sincere sadhakas. This exposes the difference between an external devotional, say, call it performance, versus an internal transformation. This verse challenges us. This verse challenges us at any stage of our devotional progress to pause and ask, how do I treat devotees? How do I see the jivas around me? Do I see Krishna only on the altar or everywhere? Yes, more than meets the eye. It's all about transformation. Let's see, is my volume, maybe let me check my volume.
I could hear you
You
fine.
can hear me fine, right? Okay, good. So this verse appears as part of King Nimi's. You can see King Nimi in the picture over here. It's King Nimi and he's meeting the 9 Yogendras and he's inquiring about the nature of pure devotional service. And remember, this is an 11th canto after we've gone through all the other cantos, including the 10th one. And now we're reflecting that, we've come to the conclusion devotional service is very important. What does it look like? What is pure devotional service? I mean, how do I know I'm doing it right? So it's a really important section. And the 9 Yogendras, led by Yogendra Kavi, they're responding by describing the symptoms of the devotees at 3 levels. You got your Uttama Bhakta, the highest, then you got your Madhyama Bhakta, and you got your Kanishta Bhakta. So the last 2 verses, 45, 46, and then now 47, they give the progressive ladder. 45 describes the exalted Mahabhagavata, the Uttama Bhakta. 46 describes the Madhyama, that we had a very nice class yesterday as well with Brahmatirtha Prabhu. We gave very pertinent examples. And today we'll discuss the Kanishta Bhakta. And so our verse today is that final one. Let's see. So this is a verse. Archayam eva haraye pujamya shraddhaye hate natad bhakteshu chanyeshu sabhakta prakrita smrita. A devotee who faithfully engages in the worship of the deity in the temple but does not behave properly toward other devotees or people in general is called a prakrita bhakta. I just want to make sure my audio is set correctly. I think that might be an issue here. Okay, because I think audio settings. Here it is. How about now? Is that strong?
Yeah, that's much stronger.
Okay, yeah, it is a setting here. Okay. So I'll read the translation again. Devotee who faithfully engages in the worship of the deity in the temple but does not behave properly toward other devotees or people in general is called a prakrita bhakta, a materialistic devotee, and is considered to be in the lowest position. Purport by servants of His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Srila Madhvacharya comments that one in the lowest stage of devotional service faithfully worships the deity in the temple, but is not aware that the Supreme Personality of Godhead is actually all-pervading. The same mentality can be seen in the Western countries, where people commit all types of sinful activities in their homes and in the street, but then piously go to a church and pray to God for mercy. Actually, God is in our home. God is in the street. God is in our office. God is in the forest. God is everywhere. And therefore God should be worshipped everywhere by the process of devotional service at His lotus feet. I stated in verse 41 of this chapter, Kam vayum agnim shalilam mahimcha jyotim shi sattvani disho drumadin sarit samudram shahare shariram yat kimcha bhutam pranamed ananya. A devotee should not see anything as being separate from the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Krishna. Ether, fire, air, water, earth, and the sun, and other luminaries, all living beings, the directions, trees and other plants, the rivers and oceans, whatever a devotee experiences, he should consider to be an expansion of Krishna. Thus, seeing everything that exists within creation as the body of the Supreme Lord Hari, the devotee should offer his sincere respects to the entire expansion of the Lord's body. This is the vision of the Mahabhagavata devotee of the Lord. Srila Madhvacharya states that a Madhyamadhikari, a devotee in the intermediate stage, sees the Supreme Personality of Godhead as the cause of all causes, and therefore offers his love to the Lord. Such a devotee is a sincere friend of other devotees. He is merciful to the ignorant and avoids the atheists. Nonetheless, tad vashatvan na janati sarvasya jagato pitu. His realization of the all-pervading feature of the Supreme Lord is imperfect. Although he does have a general sense that everyone is ultimately meant to be a devotee of the Supreme Lord, and he tries to use everything in the service of Krishna, aware that everything belongs to the Lord, he may be bewildered by association with atheistic men. Srila Madhvacharya states, Archayam eva samsthitam Vishnum gyatva tadanyatra naiva janati ya paman. A Kanishta Adhikari has no idea that the Supreme Lord has the power to exist outside a church or temple. Furthermore, being puffed up by his own ceremonial worship, Atmano Bhakti Darpata, a Kanishta Adhikari cannot imagine that anyone is more pious or religious than he. And he is not even aware that other devotees are more advanced. Thus, he cannot understand the Madhyama Uttama standard of devotional service. And sometimes, because of his false pride, he criticizes the more advanced devotees of the Lord, neglects them, or simply has no understanding of their exalted position as preachers or completely self-realized souls. Another symptom of the Kanishta Adhikari is that he is infatuated by the material qualifications of so-called great materialistic persons. Having a bodily concept of life himself, he is attracted by material opulence and thus minimizes the position of the Supreme Lord Vishnu. Such a Kanishta Adhikari, therefore, is disturbed if a second-class devotee criticizes the non-devotee of the Lord. In the name of compassion or kindness, a Kanishta Adhikari approves of the non-devotional activities of such materialistic men. Because the Kanishta Adhikari is ignorant of the higher realms of devotional service and the unlimited transcendental bliss of Krishna consciousness, he sees devotional service merely as the religious aspect of life, but thinks that life has many enjoyable and worthwhile non-devotional aspects. Therefore, he becomes angry when second-class devotees who are experiencing that Krishna is everything criticize the non-devotees. Madhvacharya says that such a person, because of his rudimentary faith in Krishna, is considered a devotee, but he is bhaktadhama, a devotee on the lowest standard. If such materialistic devotees follow the rules and regulations of deity worship, they will gradually be elevated to a higher standard and eventually become pure devotees of the Lord. Unless they commit offenses against other devotees, in which case their advancement will be checked. Srila Madhvacharya states, Tad bhaktanam upekshaka kuryur vishnavapi dvesham. Those who neglect or show indifference to the devotees of the Lord are to be considered offenders at the lotus feet of Vishnu. Similarly, those who disrespect the demigods will become bereft of devotional service and be forced to rotate again and again within samsara, a cycle of birth and death. Puja devas tata sada. The demigods are always to be offered respect, since they are devotees of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. If someone is envious of the demigods, he is to be considered envious of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Similarly, one who offers sincere respect to the demigods is considered to be respecting the will of the Supreme Lord. A Vaishnava does not foolishly think that there are many gods. He knows that there is only one Supreme Personality of Godhead. But as stated many times in the Srimad Bhagavatam, the Lord has a mission within this material world, which is to reform the conditioned living entities through the cruel laws of nature. In the Lord's mission within this world, the demigods are to be considered limbs of the Lord's body. It is stated in Bhagavad Gita, Kamaistestir hita jnana prapadyante anya devata tam tam niyamam asthaya prakrita niyata svaya. Those whose minds are distorted by material desires surrender unto demigods and follow the particular rules and regulations of worship according to their own natures. But there are many examples of devotees who worship the demigods to get benedictions for serving Lord Krishna. The gopis worship the demigods to achieve Krishna, and similarly Rukmini Devi on the day of her marriage engaged in such demigod worship, her only goal being Krishna. Even today, the preachers of the Krishna consciousness movement cultivate important people with all kindness and diplomacy so that such wealthy or influential people will engage their resources in the devotional service of Krishna, to glorify Krishna all over the world. Similarly, offering all respects to the demigods so that they will give facility for the devotional service of Krishna is not against the Bhakti Marga, although nowadays such demigod worship has also deteriorated. Therefore, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu has recommended Harinama Sankirtan, chanting the holy names of Krishna, as the only realistic process for this age. Nonetheless, a devotee of the Lord should not misinterpret Bhagavad Gita's injunctions against demigod worship as a license to offend the demigods who are bona fide Vaishnavas. Sri Madhvacharya notes, all the demigods are extremely inimical to one who does not respect Lord Vishnu. Such a person is pushed into the darkest regions by the Lord as well as by the demigods. From this statement by Sri Madhvacharya, the devotional sentiments of the demigods can be understood. It is stated that in the supreme liberation achieved by an Uttamadhikari, the most exalted devotee of the Lord, the devotee enjoys transcendental bliss in the direct association of the Supreme Lord and the demigods. According to Srila Jiva Goswami, since a Kanishta Adhikari who cannot properly respect other devotees will certainly fail to offer respects to ordinary living entities who are not even devotees, a Kanishta Adhikari is useless for practical preaching work unless he comes to a higher platform of understanding. Because a Kanishta Adhikari's faith is not actually based on the statements of Vedic literature, he cannot understand the exalted position of the Supreme Personality of Godhead in everyone's heart. Therefore, he cannot actually manifest love of Godhead, nor can he understand the exalted position of the devotees of the Lord. Krishna is so glorious that Krishna's intimate associates must also be glorious, but this is unknown to a Kanishta Adhikari. Similarly, the essential qualification of a Vaishnava, which is to offer all respects to others, amanina manadena, is also conspicuous by its absence in a Kanishta Adhikari. If such a person, however, has faith in the Vedic literatures and tries to understand the statements of Bhagavad Gita and Srimad Bhagavatam, he will gradually be elevated to the second and first class stages of devotional service. According to Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur, a Kanishta Adhikari should very seriously engage in regulated worship of the deity. The deity is a particular incarnation of the Supreme Lord, and Lord Krishna can present himself before the worshipper in 5 different manifestations, namely his original form as Krishna, his quadruple expansions, Vyuha, his pastime incarnations, Vaibhava, the super soul, Antaryami, and the deity Archa. Within the deity form, Archa is the supersoul, who in turn is included within the Lord's pastime forms, Vaibhava. The Supreme Lord's Vaibhava Prakash is an emanation from the Chaturvyuha, and this quadruple expansion of the Lord is situated within the Supreme Truth Vasudev, who himself is situated within the Swayam Prakash Tattva. This Swayam Prakash consists of expansions of the ultimate Swayam Rupa Tattva, the original form of Krishna within Golok Vrindavan in the spiritual sky. This hierarchy of the expansions of the Supreme Lord in the spiritual world is realized even within the material world in terms of one's eagerness to render service to the Lord. A beginner in the lowest stage of devotional service should try to dedicate all his activities to the satisfaction of the Lord and cultivate the worship of Krishna in the temple. According to Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur, all plenary expansions of the Supreme Lord mentioned above descend into this world and enter within the deity, who exhibits the function of the Supersoul by accompanying the daily life of the Vaishnava. As long as one remains on the third-class platform, one has no transcendental appreciation of the blissful reality of the Supreme Lord's paraphernalia and entourage. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was very pleased with King Pratap Rudra when the king, upon receiving an outer cloth from the Lord, immediately installed it as a deity and began to worship it as being as good as the Lord himself. Lord Shiva himself has stated, Tasmat Parataram Devi Tadiyanam Samarchanam. Worship of the paraphernalia, entourage or devotees of the Lord is even better than worship of the Lord, because the Lord is more pleased by worship of his devotees and entourage than by worship of himself personally. According to Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur, the inability of the Kanishta Adhikari to appreciate the Lord's devotees, entourage and paraphernalia indicates that such a materialistic Vaishnava is still affected by the speculative understanding of the Karmavadis and Mayavadis, those who are dedicated to sense gratification and impersonal speculation about the Absolute. Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur states that after hundreds of lifetimes of faithfully worshipping the deity of Lord Vasudeva with external paraphernalia, one realizes the true nature of his transcendental name and mantras, and the bondage of one's materialistic mentality slackens. In this way, as a Kanishta Adhikari gradually comes to perceive the mental activities of a devotee and tries seriously to advance to a higher stage, his materialistic conceptions will go away of their own accord. He then exhibits loving service to the Supreme Personality of Godhead and makes friendship with the devotees who are the dearmost sons of the Lord. And by appreciating the universal quality of devotional service to Krishna, he becomes very much eager to engage other innocent people in the service of the Lord. Further, as he begins to make significant advancement, he becomes inimical to anything or anyone that hinders the progress of his devotional life, and thus he avoids atheistic people who cannot benefit by good instruction. The International Society for Krishna Consciousness, founded by His Divine Grace Om Vishnupad Paramahamsa Parivrajikacharya 108 Sri Srimad Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada, is so nice that anyone who helps this society immediately engages in preaching work for the Lord. Thus, there is great facility for the members of this society to come quickly to the second-class stage of devotional service. If in the name of Krishna consciousness one gives up preaching and instead becomes interested in simply collecting funds for maintenance, he is showing a type of envy of other living entities. This is a symptom of the third-class platform. According to Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur, verses 45 through 47 constitute the answer to King Nimi's two questions. What is the nature of devotional service to the Lord? And what are the specific duties of the Vaishnavas? The purport ends here. Om Ajnanatimirandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurumritam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namah. I was born in the darkest of ignorance. My spiritual master has kindly opened my darkened eyes and filled my heart with torchlight of transcendental knowledge. I bow down to his lotus feet. Yes, this purport is very comprehensive, and I felt it's very important to go through it. So let us kind of take it apart a little bit more. Before we come to verse 47, we must understand, look at 45 and 46 also, and understand where we stand in this continuum of spiritual maturity. So we have the three here, Kanishta, Madhyama, and the Uttama. So in 45, we understand the Uttama Bhagavat. Tama means darkness. Uttama means something that takes you above darkness. It raises, transcends darkness. So Uttama is one who can actually bring us out of our darkness. Now, the previous verse describes this as Uttama, as one who sees Krishna everywhere and sees everything in Krishna. He sees no one as separate from the Supreme. It's not theoretical. It's not poetic. It's actual perception. His heart has become non-dual from the will of Krishna. In other words, whatever he does is completely in alignment with Krishna's desires. So, it's quoted in the purport and also earlier in verse 41. He sees the universe as a body of Hari. Like everything he sees, this is part of Krishna's body. Now, this perception transforms his entire way of dealing with the world. He does not artificially, quote unquote, tolerate people. He sees them as parts of Krishna. He doesn't struggle with projecting humility. His humility flows naturally because he sees everyone as worshipable. He does not, quote unquote, practice respect. He naturally offers it because all are Krishna's expansions. This Amanina Manadena comes very naturally to an Uttama Bhakta. This is the summit of bhakti, the absolute highest. So in Rupa Goswami's Nectar of Instruction, he gives us further advice on how we can identify them and what we should do. So Uttama, they are inspirationally absorbed in Krishna. And what should we do? We should inquire, associate, and serve. Then the next step down, which is in verse 46, the Madhyama. So this is the intermediate. This devotee navigates relationships through a very clear sense of discrimination, a discernment. And the qualities in that verse, they describe Ishvara Prem. He has love for God, very strong affection, affinity. Tad Adineshu Maitri. Maitri means friendship. Friendship with devotees, very good friend, genuine friend. And Balisheshu Kripa, mercy to the innocent. And of course, avoidance of those who are envious of the Lord. Avoid them, keeps the distance. So this level is where most sincere practitioners operate. Those who are sincere, they operate in this level. Especially in preaching and outreach, because it requires solid scriptural understanding to be a Madhyama. It requires very deep understanding of proper relationships, and their behaviors are very good. It requires an emotional maturity with high degree of patience. And it requires a discernment or discrimination without offense. That's important. We want to discern but not offend. This is a platform where preaching becomes possible. Of course, the discernment is not based on bodily features, but it's based on behaviors. So preaching is viable in the Madhyama stage because one must know how to relate differently with different level of devotees. We have to know it. We have to know how to relate with the innocent, how to relate with the envious. That's why Madhyama is a stage where most sincere devotees operate. And then Kanishta is today's verse. They're also devotees. Remember, they're all Vaishnavas. Look here. See, they're all Vaishnavas. That's important. And therefore all deserve respect, but not the same level of respect. That's important to understand too. If our Guru is Uttama Adhikari, we inquire from him, we serve him, whatever he says, we take it as gold and we make it our life's mission. We can't offer that same respect to Kanishta. They may say stuff that's off the wall. They may not be scripturally sound, just because they may say stuff that's mentally speculative. And we can't just accept that at the same level as we accept Uttama's words. So the level of respect has to differ. Otherwise, we may end up doing things in the name of following a devotee. See? It's very, very important for us to recognize these differences. So, the Kanishta has faith in the deity. He is sincere. He is religious. But he lacks understanding of Krishna's presence everywhere. And especially lacks respect for devotees and for people in general. And this is the central core of the message in today's class. So let's explore the mindset of the Kanishta. The Kanishta, this purport gives us a profile, a psychological profile. It's false pride from ritual performance. He becomes proud of his external worship. He thinks, I know how to worship. I'm a religious person. He cannot imagine that someone else is more advanced. And he may criticize real devotees who are absorbed in preaching or in advanced realization. He still is attracted to materialistic greatness. He's impressed by wealth. He's impressed by prestige, influence, social glamour. And he may even minimize devotees who are materially simple but spiritually deep. And the biggest danger is Vaishnava Prad. This is the biggest problem. This is the biggest risk here. The purport states directly, neglecting devotees leads to offense against Vishnu himself. And this is the core reason that can completely check the advancement of a Kanishta. It's not lack of ritual, but lack of regard for Krishna's devotees. Jiva Goswami warns us that such faith, this Kanishta faith, is not based on Shastra. It is emotional, but it's not informed. And that's why he cannot recognize pure devotees, he cannot understand Krishna's presence in all beings, and his bhakti cannot mature into love. It's definitely not fit for outreach and preaching. It's prone to making offenses. This is why this verse is a sacred caution sign. Now the antidote. What is the antidote? The antidote is learning to see Krishna everywhere. So this transformation from Kanishta to Madhyama depends on one primary shift. From seeing God in one place to seeing God in every place. Krishna is not just in one box. Bhaktisiddhanta explains, every expansion of the Lord enters the deity. The deity is Krishna's local, merciful appearance. But Krishna is not limited to the deity form. One who worships the deity must also learn to worship the devotees, worship the holy name, worship the scriptures, worship the Vaishnavas, the devotees, the demigods as limbs of the Lord, the jivas as children of the Lord. This is the real journey. How to see. The other point is worship of devotees surpasses direct worship of Krishna. And he quotes Lord Shiva. Right? So Prabhupada explains, we want to see Krishna with his devotees always. Only the impersonalist wants to see Krishna alone without his devotees. If one cannot appreciate the community of devotees, the paraphernalia of Krishna, the entourage of Krishna, the devotees who preach, the Vaishnavas who are senior, the Vaishnavas who are junior, the conditioned souls who are uplifted, who to be uplifted, then his conception of God is partial and it is stunted. This is a vision to understand. The antidote is change, a shift in the vision. It's a shift in the vision. Now the real test, of course, is our behavior with people. And this, by the way, can go up and down. We can get good at it and then we can get regressive also. So we have to be careful, are we always improving? This is a question to ask ourselves, not a question to look at how is he treating others. No. You ask yourself, do I treat devotees better over time? Do I have a little more patience? Do I have a little more respect? Have I increased in my eagerness to serve the devotees that gone down? Is there less envy in my heart? Is there less sense of selfish competition? Do I treat the general people with respect as parts of Krishna? Do I see them as potential devotees? Do I show kindness and patience? Do I treat challenging people as opportunities to deepen my bhakti? The Mahabhagavad sees Krishna everywhere. The Madhyama sees Krishna in some places and practices relating properly. The Kanishta still sees Krishna only in one place and behaves poorly elsewhere. So, in other words, our relationships reveal our realization. That's very important. That's what we're going to measure ourselves with. How do we apply this in ISKCON today? This is particularly relevant for a preaching movement like ISKCON. Rituals alone will not sustain ISKCON. We have to develop a culture of genuine Vaishnava behavior. Second point, devotee care is not sentimental, it is theological. It is bhakti. To neglect devotees is to neglect Krishna. And the third point, preaching requires a madhyama level of maturity. Kanishta cannot preach because preaching requires respect, compassion, discernment, and humility. Kanishta is not good at those. And preaching means we're representing. And the fourth point is leadership requires even more maturity, like if you're a leader of a particular group of devotees. Because leaders, we have to model. We have to model respect for all. Leaders must model awareness of Krishna everywhere. Like their behavior should reflect that, yeah, I see Krishna everywhere, without saying it. How do you do that? It's a lifestyle. It's a lifestyle that inspires others. Fifth point, the real test of a devotee is the backstage behavior, not the front stage that everybody sees, the backstage behavior. How do we behave when no one is watching? How do we behave at home? How do we behave with our spouses, with our children? How do we behave on Facebook groups and comments and WhatsApp groups, social media? How do we behave at temple meetings? How do we behave with difficult devotees? This is where we rise or we fall. So practical ways of how we can gradually move from Kanishta to Madhyama. Read Shastra daily. We don't be lazy in understanding the nuances found in scripture. There's no limit to the depth available in our scriptures and Prabhupada's writings. There's no depth. Read daily. Study it. Or at least come to this class and hear daily. 2. Consciously practice respect. See where I can improve in respecting others. Offer respect when the mind is resisting. Like overcome the I'm not going to give respect unless they earned respect. No, this is a modern backward mentality. Offer respect by default. There's nothing that costs you to be respectful. Consciously practice respect. That's 2. Actively build maitri, friendship with devotees. Madhyama level requires maitri. Comes from the word mitra. Mitra means friend, maitri means friendship. And avoid Vaishnava aparadh like poison. This is the real roadblock to devotion and advancement. Avoid offending devotees. Serve devotees, prioritize service of devotees at least as much as you want to serve the deity, if not more. Krishna is pleased like that. And of course, preach and share, do outreach. When we share, this activity forces us to think of others. It softens our heart. And see Krishna in daily life. So I'm going to offer the concluding meditation here. Ask yourself, do I worship Krishna but disrespect his devotees? Do I bow to the deity but not to the Vaishnava sitting next to me? Do I welcome Krishna on the altar but not in the living beings around me? If so, the Bhagavatam tells us with compassion and firmness, you are still a Prakrita Bhakta. You can rise higher. Begin today. So by sincerely respecting devotees, serving them, seeing Krishna everywhere, we leave behind the Kanishta stage and step into real bhakti. Srila Prabhupada is the embodiment of effortless grace. He said, now all of you become just like me, he said. So perfectly normal he was. And he always is giving us his presence. He's here with us. Natural, calming presence to the soul of everyone who had the fortune of being near him. We too can get this association even today through his teachings, his examples, his murti form, his videos, his disciples who are faithful to instructions, his followers. It is incumbent upon us to learn everything he taught and to share with others. So thank you all very much for your kind attention and your valuable time. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Hare Krishna. Okay, we have some hands up here. Let's see. We have Min followed by Gail. Go ahead, Min.
Krishna, thank you so much for such an important class. It's very good to see you. Question, connection to these offenses we make in our Kanishta stage. The offenses that we make towards other Vaishnavas and Krishna. You know, when I think about myself making offenses, I see that as that I'm, and you sort of spoke about this, that I may be acting out of reacting to my emotions rather than from platform of understanding shastras and having spiritual realizations. So in many ways, I see my offenses toward other Vaishnavas as this lack of awareness, right? I am in the darkness, and of so I'm that I don't have a better vision of depth of my relationship with other devotees and Krishna. And so how do I, when I'm at a stage where I'm just, I don't have a lot of knowledge, and I'm sort of reacting to things from my emotional state, even though I think that I have Krishna in my life, and even though I think that I respect other devotees. So how do you come out of this place of lack of knowledge and a misunderstanding? And you gave us a little bit of antidote about, respecting, offering respect by default. But what if I'm at a place where I even lack that? Yeah, if you could speak to that a little bit. Thank you.
Thank you, Min. This is a great question. And of course, Shastric study and learning how other devotees have behaved and great devotees behave is a great way to start. That's what Acharya means. Acharya means he teaches by his example. Look at Prabhupada, he's a great Acharya. How he behaved, we learn. So that's why the more we read and learn about him, for example, and other devotees in Chaitanya Charitamrita, how they behaved, and also what bad behavior looks like, that's also there in Chaitanya Charitamrita with many stories. So when we read that, it helps a lot to put things in perspective. But say we're not quite there. Like you said, I'm not so shastrically deep. I don't understand. I haven't studied so much. I haven't learned so much. The solution is not more information, but more formation. In other words, you don't need to wait to become a scholar to behave like a devotee. See, the heart can begin practicing long before the head fully understands. How's that possible? There are some principles we can use, basic principles, to anchor our behavior. For example, if I want to, I've decided I'm going to make humility my default setting. Just I want to be humble. Okay, what does a humble devotee mean? A humble person listens more, speaks less. Right? Assumes that maybe I'm mistaken. Pauses before reacting, especially in negative emotional reaction. You take a pause. And a humble person absolutely avoids harsh speech. So those are some things that we can work on right now. Like if I'm seeing harshness in my speech, I don't need to be a Shastic scholar to realize this is not helping. You know. So even without deep Shastra, if we cultivate this humility, then it drastically reduces the likelihood of offenses. Humility is not a deep philosophical conclusion as such. It's a choice we can make today. Another point is that we could follow the behavioral templates. Like I said, the acharyas. How did they behave? How did they offer respect and expect no respect? Is it possible for me to practice it even if I don't feel it? Can I try? It doesn't hurt to practice offering respect even if you don't feel like it. Those things are fine. It's not hypocritical. Some people say, oh, it's hypocritical for me to bow down to somebody if I don't feel it. No, bow down anyway. And then another rule that we may tend to do before, and now we don't want to do it anymore, is I will not correct, criticize, or comment on another devotee unless I have fully understood the situation. I have calmed my mind, and I can speak from a place without pride and ego. If those three things are not present, then I'll be quiet. That's not an offense to be quiet. Just be respectful. And make an assumption that other devotees are advanced. This one mental shift can protect us from 90% of aparadha. Especially if, Nityananda Chandra Prabhu very nicely put a quote, bow down and then you'll feel like it. Perfect quote. Thank you, Prabhu. Learn to slow down your reactions. Although I wouldn't give that advice to you, Min, because you're already very patient and you really take a pause. You actually set the gold standard in this behavior. It's like I'm telling the wrong person here. I'm learning from you, Min, how to do this right. So I'm not even kidding. Okay, but slow down the reactions. This is the general advice. Offenses come sometimes not from malice but from speed. Our conditioned emotions act faster than our intelligence. A lot of the times. And just being brash, it's just our nature to be quick and brash. That, if we can kind of reassess, pause, breathe, reassess, respond, then we can learn to slow down in this. So then you will see a real spiritual growth starts increasing in pauses. Not in increased knowledge, but increased pauses. Then I can suggest a couple other things. Behavior, it says, influenced by association, by our environment, by the people we hang out with, even by things like the time of day and our diet. If we are hangry, okay, we have to go to the sea darshan. Let's switch over. The curtains are opening. Then we'll take it over on the other side. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Inda Manipurcha Tamaham Bhajami Govindam Hari Govindam Hari Purusha Tamaham Bhajami Venam Manta Maravinda Dalayakaksham Bhagavatam Samasitam Buddha Sundarangam Kangarpa Koti Kamaniya Shobha Nariyasya Sakaman Diya Pritimanti Pasyanti Panti Gayanti Yanti Viramyaganti Anadachimaya Sadhu Valavirasya Govindam Manipurusham Aham Bhajami Govinda Hari Purusham Aham Bhajami Govinda Hari Purusham Aham Bhajami Govinda Hari Purusham Aham Bhajami Govinda Hari Purusham. Srila Prabhupada ki. Lotus feet of our spiritual master are the only way by which we can obtain pure devotional service. I bow down to his lotus feet with great awe and reverence. By his grace, one can cross the ocean of material suffering and obtain the mercy of Krishna. My only wish is to have my consciousness purified by the words emanating from his lotus mouth. Attachment to his lotus feet is perfection that fulfills all desire. He opens my eyes. The Lord and Master, the devotee. Oh, Master, be blessed all of us. Give us a shade of your lotus feet. May your fame be known over the 3 worlds. We take shelter at your lotus feet. Srila Prabhupada ki jai.
Hare Krishna, welcome to the Afterglow. Madan Gopal Prabhu, thank you for going overtime with us. Dear devotees, please be brief. This is overtime. Let's do it. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Thank you. So I'm just, thank you very much. Just wrapping up my response to Min's question. The different suggestions. So I was saying that our behavior is influenced by many, many factors. So we have to see which factor is causing, like when we are hangry, for example. You know, when someone is in that hangry mode, we tend to say things that we didn't even mean. So we have to kind of make sure we don't allow ourselves to get in that point. Everybody has different triggers. So we have to watch out for those triggers. Our habits, the time of day, our diet, other people. So we can address and approach all of them with the one aim of becoming better in terms of relating with one another. You know, keeping close association with steady devotees. It's a good way. Avoiding online arguments. It's a good way. Avoiding late night discussions when the mind could be tired. Avoiding controversial topics when we're hungry, tired, or stressed. We can create personal rules. I will not complain about any devotee to a third person, you know, or gossip. It's a personal rule. I used to do it, I'm not doing it anymore. These safeguards can really protect us, and it's fine. Catch ourselves doing it. This is what it means to be a better person, be better you. A lot of the times, this is a secret a lot of people don't know. Maybe a lot of people do, but this is something that we should think about. Behavior changes before our realization, not the other way around. We often think, when I become mature, then I'll behave properly. No. Acharyas say, first behave properly, maturity will follow. Then realization will arise. In other words, external discipline changes internal consciousness over time. Prabhupada would tell his disciples when they're chanting here, sit properly. The idea was, if you sit properly now, sit straight now when you're chanting, that sitting straight shows respect, and then that'll build respect. And then in the future, respect will be so natural, you'll naturally sit properly because respect is your default setting. You understand? So behave nicely first, and then realization will follow. Not that, let me become mature right now, I'm immature, what can I do? I can't change my behavior. No, we can change it. We can consciously change it. Sitting properly is just an example. Okay? So you don't need deep knowledge to act like a deep devotee. You just need humility. You need respectful behavioral templates. You need to watch your environment for safeguards, eating and so on. And if there's a slip, you can do quick repair. Prabhu, I realize I may have spoken from emotion. Please forgive me and help me understand properly. That one sentence can destroy the karmic reaction and prevent aparadh from getting deeper. You see, so if there's a slip, repair it quick. Some thoughts that came to my mind. Hare Krishna, man. Thank you. Okay, wow. A lot of hands up. Gail Mataji, Krishna Kumari Mataji, Sadhvi Didi, Nityananda Chandra Prabhu. Okay, let's start with Gail.
Hare Krishna Prabhu, just a vocabulary word. Entourage versus devotees. The distinction is made in the reading.
Yes. There's a difference. The entourage are devotees, but not all devotees are part of the entourage. Entourage just means those who are hanging out with the Lord for a particular pastime. So not everybody will be part of that particular entourage. You know, like you're talking about, say, Krishna comes with his friends and there's his friend circle who are doing the Ras Leela or doing the picnic Leela or whatever. That's his entourage. And then the other devotees are not part of that particular Leela or any particular Leela as such, but they're devotees of the Lord. So we should respect them just as much as we respect the entourage. That's the point. All the devotees who are around us. So, okay?
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Hare Krishna. Krishna Kumari, go ahead. I think we'll have to skip you, Krishna Kumari. I'm sorry.
He's in ecstasy.
Yeah,
I wish we could hear her.
I wish I could hear, because it's, I'm sorry, we could, we need a better connection, or we need subtitles, but something. I'm not following. Maybe if you wrote it down in the chat, we might be able to hear what you're saying or see what you're trying to say. If it's possible, that'd be great. Sorry, Krishna Kumari, it's just a technical thing. Your voice isn't coming through. We can go with Sadhvi Didi. Go ahead, Sadhvi.
Hare Krishna, and thank you very much for today.
Hare Krishna.
I understand everything while our behavior towards each other within the Krishna consciousness and within the movement. But there is something that I need to understand. For instance, in Sweden, there are law and rule and regulation even outside. When you come outside the temple, then you have to abide some certain law and regulation. For instance, if you want to have a restaurant, there is a environment organization that they're going to always come and control, and so on and so on. And if you don't follow the regulation, then it's almost dangerous. You can say you can get fined and so on and so on. My question is it to behave all this within Krishna consciousness, within movement, but it's okay if you don't do everything what it says outside. You know what I mean? Did I ask the question?
Yeah.
right way?
Yeah, I think I understand what you're saying. The rules of proper behavior, and if you look at the purport that we're reading today, they apply to outside as well. But those who are non-devotees, they also fall into two categories. If you read the purport, you'll see the outside people. Okay, there are two categories. So if we are trying to be madhyama adhikaris, which is really what we're trying to go for, madhyama stage. In the madhyama stage, among the non-devotees, we make a discernment. Those who are envious, atheistic, opposing us, it's one category, and then those who are innocent. Everybody is a covered devotee, every soul. As a madhyama, we have to find who are the low-hanging fruits that we can show Krishna's mercy to by representing Krishna. Who will be more receptive to Prabhupada's mercy when we try to share it? And of course, my behavior should always be first class. It's not that, okay, in the temple I'll behave nicely and outside I'll be very mean and harsh or like a jerk or something. I don't want to do that. So our behavior should be nice to other people as well. That's the general thing. We want to be kind and respectful. People should be impressed by our kindness and our respect. They should be like, wow, this person, she knows how to be kind. Like, she's very patient, very tolerant. She's definitely doing something. Are you like practicing some process to cool down your mind? So, our behavior should impress people, general behavior, in terms of being nice. But we are going to approach the innocent differently than those who we try to avoid. Certain people want to try to avoid those who are really spitting at us, throwing things at us, or who are just very mean and harsh against us. We don't need to try to be friends with them. That's at madhyama level. So that's really, how to behave with others in the outside world is also given in the purport, and we can see that kindness has to be there. We don't, it's not very different from how we behave with devotees. Be nice to everybody. You see? Even among devotees, the Kanishtas, we're told to kind of give respect from a distance. Even Kanishtas, we're told to keep a little distance, because we don't want to be influenced by them. So that's the fine differences. We should read about them, how to behave, how close to get to others, how much to allow them to influence us. All these are there being discussed. So certainly all these regulations apply everywhere, or suggestions or guidelines, inside and outside, not too different. Yeah, I hope that helps.
But what I meant more is about there are law and regulation. For instance, I give you an example, so maybe that way I can say the way I can ask my question. For instance, in Iran, it's okay to marry a girl is 10 years old, 11 years old, 12 years old. It's not against the law. You know what I mean? But in Sweden, it's against the law. You can't do it. If you do it, then the child will take you from the parents, and the person who is thinking to marry maybe end up in the jail. You know what I mean? Or throw you out from the country. This is what I mean. So
Sure, sure. So the law of the land, Prabhupada always told us, follow the law of the land. Don't break the law of the land. You see. Suppose, okay, if there's a law, although I'm not really sure if there's any law that is in any country, but say if there's a law that all women have to wear head covering in that country. And I think there might be some countries that do that. Right? So we should respect that. We don't, oh no, I'm a Hare Krishna, I'm not going to do that, I'm going to, that doesn't really help us necessarily. Same thing with their devotees who are preaching in countries where preaching is not even allowed. So how do they do it? Well, they're sort of bending the law a little bit, but they're not going to go out on the street and do Harinam. That's complete breaking the law. There are countries where there's laws in the books where you're not allowed to do any preaching, but still devotees preach in homes and just kind of share under the guise of cultural exchange and things like that. So even there, they try very close to follow the letter of the law as much as possible. You don't want to break the law, because first of all, you get in trouble, or it gives us all a bad name. So in general, we want to avoid breaking the rule of law. So I think that's a general statement that's given by Prabhupada. Thank you. Hare Krishna.
thank you.
Nityananda Chandra Prabhu, Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, you were talking about following the how the external transforms the internal. You find that also in chapter 12 of Bhagavad Gita, like 8, 9, and 10. And I was just sharing my appreciation for that. One of the rules I like, the external rules that's the easy one, is Sanat Goswami says, in the beginning, we should dance as a matter of duty. And then I transpose Gargamuni's discussion with Prabhupada, well, what if I don't feel like bowing down? Then Prabhupada said, bow down and you feel like it. And so it's like, what if I don't feel like dancing? Say, well, dance for Krishna, and then you'll feel like it. Just like when we take our shoes off before we enter the temple. So similarly, we leave everything behind and just give ourselves to Krishna, and then the heart will follow. We just give our body to Krishna, and then the heart will follow.
Wonderful. Yes, thank you so much. This is a classic example of the dancing one is great. I remember one time His Holiness Sachinandan Swami, he was encouraging everybody. Okay, well, you'll see that he was encouraging you like newcomers. My dear guests, please feel free to dance with joy. Just jump up and down, express your joy by dancing to the holy name. That's very nice. And if you can't move your body, then at least, tap your finger to the beat. Just the finger. Start with that. Nod your head. Maybe move your shoulders. And before you know it, you'll be swept up. So move something like, try to connect with the vibe. Even if it's external thing. Maybe just keeping the beat with your finger. And nod your head. Sometimes he said, smile even if you don't feel like smiling. Then you'll smile if you don't feel like smiling, and all of a sudden you'll find that you're smiling. So it works both ways. Our emotions affect our posture, but our posture also affects our emotion. So we can work it from either side. Either move the emotion, move the heart, or move the body. And then find a way to connect the two, where now the movement of your body is in connection with your emotion and your feeling. Then you're fully holistically engaged. So Krishna is very kind. You can approach him from either one of those ways, and he'll help us make the connection. Thank you, Prabhu. Hare Krishna. Mathuranath Prabhu, go ahead.
Hare Krishna. In the beginning of the purport, it was discussing, I don't know, the very beginning, but it was saying how those who are not worshiping the Supreme Lord, they're kind of pushed away into the suffering of the material world. I don't remember the exact wording, but it seems like, oh, this is just somebody that doesn't understand kind of the sambandha is like, oh, this is harsh. This is Krishna's hard, and I guess underneath that all, I'm seeing what do you see is the consequences of not understanding that Krishna does love us, and seeing how that really, if we don't understand that in the initial sambandha, how that's going to affect our spiritual life.
This notion, just trying to think. So you're referring to the purport and how the line of the purport says, something to the effect that it's a kind of a cruel thing, even use the words cruel. Have the material world, and maybe Krishna doesn't really love us. So to feel or believe that Krishna does not love us is actually a very it's an internal misconception that people can hold. Like if they accept God and they see that God is not really all good, or is not fair, or is not genuinely loving. So, and your question was, what are the consequences of feeling that way? So, of course, there are many consequences. That mindset damages the foundation of bhakti itself. Because bhakti is built on this understanding that Krishna's affection, Krishna's mercy, Krishna's kindness, Krishna's eagerness to lift us. This is the platform of bhakti. If a devotee believes that Krishna does not love me, even though he's trying to be a devotee, but there's an undercurrent of thinking Krishna really doesn't love me, then what happens? Surrender feels unsafe. You feel insecure surrendering to Krishna. Service feels mechanical. And a sense of dependence on Krishna that we want, it becomes impossible. How can you depend on somebody who you're convinced doesn't love you? That mindset can also create resentment toward Krishna. Krishna is unfair, Krishna is distant, Krishna is punishing me for no good reason. Or Krishna is playing favorites, he's helping others, not helping me. So again, this creates like some emotional distance. Now, a very serious consequence of that line of thinking is that you will also subconsciously assume that devotees also don't love me. Devotees also don't care. Krishna's devotees. And others are favored, I'm not. So then we become oversensitive, we kind of withdraw, or misinterpret others' words, even when devotees trying to be loving. If you have that mindset that devotee doesn't love me, even when they're trying to help you, you'll see it the worst possible way. When someone's trying to help you, you are not generous in making assumptions. So, and it blocks us from seeing Krishna's hand in our life in a good way. Krishna is doing so many good things for us, so it blocks us from seeing those things. Krishna gives us his love in so many ways. Guidance that comes from great devotees. Friendships, service opportunities, inner intuition, scriptures, even obstacles. When you do it the right way, you see them as opportunities. So, now, you brought up something important because this is not uncommon. What causes this sort of feeling is not philosophy. It could be our own experiences of trauma in the world that makes us, because say if we had traumatic experiences, right? If we had traumatic experiences, then our outlook can be shaped by that. If we are facing repeated failures, if we keep comparing ourselves to others, if we misunderstand our karma, if we're overburdened with just a huge mountain of guilt, if we're being too hard on ourselves, or thinking that Krishna only loves us conditionally. Krishna's love is not conditional. He loves the ant, he loves the elephant, he loves the atheist, he loves the sinner, he loves the struggling devotee, and he loves the surrendered devotee. He loves equally. But our capacity to feel his love will vary depending on our level of surrender, you see. The shine of the sunshine is equal everywhere. But the capacity to bask in that sun will vary depending on how much we expose ourselves, whether we come out of the rock or we stay in the rock, under the rock, So, it's nice to really bring this up to ourselves. And one of the reasons why some of his pastimes where he shows his Bhaktavat Salta, his love for the devotees, especially the fallen, especially the sinners and all, it's very uplifting when we keep hearing that. That's why we should hear those very often. We see in stories, Krishna doesn't start loving us only when we become pure. No. Those stories are very uplifting. Krishna doesn't stop loving us when we fall. No. Krishna does not measure his love based on our success in our endeavors. Krishna's love is not a reaction to what we do. Krishna's love is our constitutional reality. That's important. So Prabhupada says many times, Krishna is more eager for us to come to him than we are eager to go to him. So these sort of sentences, they destroy this poison of thinking that Krishna doesn't like us or Krishna is indifferent. So what should we do then if this happens? Say the prayer. Krishna, my mind is telling me you don't love me, but I refuse to believe my mind over your words. We can remind ourselves my emotions are not philosophical basis. Just because I feel unloved doesn't mean that I am unloved. My feeling is based on misunderstanding. A lot of the time my emotions are based on misunderstanding. Talk to devotees that see you with spiritual eyes. Find devotees in whose eyes you can see that they love you. And we should be devotees who embody that. That when we are with somebody else, another devotee, they should feel Krishna's love in our eyes. We should work on that. If you pray to Krishna, let me represent your love with other devotees, Krishna will reciprocate. You say, yes, okay. When someone is in your presence, they'll feel my love. We should pray for that. So, of course, we know this illusion that Krishna doesn't love me is an illusion. It blocks the very love that we're seeking. So we should remember Krishna's love is always shining. Our doubts are like the eyelids, we got to open them. And it's not based on reality. But we should acknowledge that it exists, this misunderstanding, and gradually work our way out of it. I hope I understood what you're asking, Mathuranath Prabhu.
Yeah, very much. I have one just asking for a little clarification. When you say we'll understand his love when we, to the degree that we surrender, can you just open that up a little bit?
Yeah.
What do you mean by
Yes,
that?
sure. Imagine I'm an insect under a rock, and I'm not used to being loved, but I know there's a flood of loving sunshine out there. But I'm curious, what does it mean like to feel loved? So then I kind of peek outside and put just one leg out. And I feel, oh, this is nice. And I put my second leg out. My third one. All 6 of them, one at a time. Oh, this is awesome. Then gradually peek my head and then gradually my body. And then I realize, oh, wait, this might be dangerous, and run back. But so there's a little bit of surrender, you see? A little bit partial surrender. To the degree I expose myself to that love, those are the acts of surrender. To that degree, I'll realize what that love is. So now, if I come out completely in the sun and say, whoa, I was wasting my time hiding under that cold rock. It's so nice out here. You see? Then I feel it more. I can take full advantage of it. I can bask in it. You'll feel like Prahlad Maharaj in the lap of Nrsingadev. We feel Krishna's presence. But that only happens because gradually we've surrendered. We know what surrender means. There's 6 components, 6 different metrics by which we can measure our surrender. So we can try to raise each one of those metrics. 6 components. If you don't know what those are, you can look in that Sarvadharman Parityaja verse in Bhagavad Gita. Surrender unto me. That's about surrender. And in the purport, Prabhupada breaks apart, makes a list of the 6 aspects of surrender and see if we can improve in all of them. And to the degree we increase all those levels, to that degree we'll feel Krishna's reciprocation, we'll feel his love. To the degree we expose ourselves to the sun, we'll feel the warmth. We can't philosophize our way out of coming out from under the rock. We have to actually come out. Okay. Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Prabhu.
Okay, it's 8:30. I think we have to get going, but thank you all very much.
Thank you very much, Madan Gopal Prabhu, for your association. We feel very uplifted in the right way. Thank you. Dear devotees, thank you for your association, for letting us be part of your entourage sometimes. We need it. Okay, we need somebody who could recite the Maha Mantra for us. Karen, Isaiah, Annabelle, Chipmunks, please.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Thank you very much, Annabelle and Isaiah, for chanting Hare Krishna so sincerely. We love everyone on this call and everyone on YouTube, and Krishna loves us. He needs us. Thank you.